Hello, teachers, parents, and educational leaders, and welcome to this episode of Breaking Down the Best. Now, during this episode, you will get a peek into the members only area where I have tons of resources to help you make math fun, make it click, and make it stick. There should be a link somewhere around this video where you can learn more. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to it and let's break down the standard. Welcome to Breaking Down the Best, a video series dedicated to breaking down Florida's best standards for math. So grab something to write with and maybe even a snack. This looks good. And don't forget to put a smile on your face. There you go, I see you. And let's dive into today's best standard. Hey everyone, my name is Sarah McCarthy and I'm super pumped that you are here joining me as we break down the following standard. Today's standard is MA.3.GR.2.3 and this standard says to solve mathematical and real-world problems involving the perimeter and area of rectangles with whole number side lengths, so no fractions, no decimals, using a visual model and a formula. So using a model like of a rectangle or a rectangular array and a formula like area equals length times width, or that perimeter equals the sum of all the sides, right? By the way, this document that I am marking up all over is not something that I created. This is something that's provided by the Florida Department of Education, and in these episodes, I'm just showing you how I take the resources that they provide and break down the standard in order to create resources that are strategically aligned for you in your taking on the best membership. So we'll break down the standard and then we'll go through the resources that you have access to. So let's take a look at these clarifications. It says within this benchmark, the expectation is not to find unknown side lengths. Now I have seen some sample problems that involve unknown side lengths, but that's not the expectation of the standard. I think it's a way to kick it up a little bit. And let's put a little pin in this because I want to come back to it because I have seen some examples of where there were side lengths missing. So let's just come back to it in a second, okay? Clarification 2 says two-dimensional figures cannot exceed up to 12 units by 12 units or up to a 12 by 12 array or rectangle. I guess that would be a square for a 12 by 12 rectangle. And responses include the units in word form, such as if we're working with feet, we would use the word square feet or square feet. But we would not use it like this, feet squared with the exponent there. That is for the upper grades, for middle school, not third grade. So don't worry about this one. Now, what are the connecting benchmarks, the horizontal alignment? So we have these NSO.2.2 and .2.4 standards. Those are multiplication and division standards. And because we have area here, of course, we are multiplying, so we can connect that. We have rectangular arrays, and that goes so well with multiplication. Repeated addition and an array, that's multiplication, so that ties in nicely. We also have this one, MA.3.AR.1.2. That's the real-world problems using all four operations. In this standard, we will have real-world problems that do use multiplication and that do use addition. So that definitely goes into play here. We also have these measurement standards, and that connects with the length portion of those measurement standards. Some terms that you need to know are perimeter, that is the distance around a figure. It's where you add up all the sides. And a rectangle is a four-sided polygon. It's a quadrilateral that has four right angles. So that's what a rectangle is. Vertical alignment, where are they coming from? Well, in second grade, these standards right here help students to understand the attributes of two-dimensional shapes, which is awesome. And then in fourth grade, we will have more complex area and perimeter problems. So they definitely need this one because they'll tie it into a more complex skill in fourth grade. Not too much different, but just enough, like missing the side lengths and all of that. Now this is the purpose and instructional strategies section, and let me just point out what jumped out at me. It says that the purpose of this benchmark is for students to solve mathematical and real-world problems using the perimeter and the area of rectangles. And again, I just pointed out it's just rectangles, and squares fall into that category of rectangles because they have 4 right angles as well. Using visual models like an array or a drawing, a model of that rectangle, or a formula, which I've included down here, that the area equals the length times the width, and that the perimeter is when we add up the 2 length sides and the 2 width sides, when we're talking about rectangles, of course, which could also be translated into 2 times the length plus 2 times the width if you want to go there. Here it says that mathematical problems include visual models or rectangles, while examples of real-world problems could include photos or classroom objects. And I said right here that this would be a great way to tie in those length standards by having students measure sides, not necessarily when the sides are given, but if you want to give them the opportunity to find to find the measurement of the length and of the width, and then use that information to find the area and the perimeter. That's a great way to tie in that measurement standard. Of course, these measurement standards do go to the nearest quarter of an inch, and we don't need to worry about that when we're finding the perimeter and the area. So you could have them just round to the nearest whole. Here it says students will not be expected to find unknown lengths until 4th grade. I know that in some of the math tasks that I have created that really bump it up, that I have put some problems here for the unknown side lengths, just to increase the rigor a little bit. But just know that I know the expectation is not that they're not expected to, yet we can still raise the bar. Okay, it says this benchmark gives students a chance to measure perimeter and area together and understand their differences. I love that they're putting both perimeter and area into the same standard, because students do get confused which one is which. And we want to encourage students to create the formulas. You have probably already jumped into area, and hopefully your students have helped to determine a formula that would work for that, which is that the area equals the length times the width. But now you could turn it over to them and say, which formula could we use to find the perimeter? Have them create that formula. Here, we were just talking about this, some common misconceptions or errors, and it says that students may confuse area and perimeter, not knowing which one is which. And here it says that perimeter should be described as a 1-dimensional measurement, where the area is 2-dimensional, because we're covering the shape with unit squares. And I said here that if you there are some really creative teachers out there, really creative professionals, and they can create amazing visuals. I've seen a lot of cool ones, like for instance on a door or on a bulletin board, writing that the area is the inside space and that the perimeter is on the outside, and they mark it up writing perimeter, finding the outside, the length around the shape, and that the area is the space inside. So get creative on how you can get students to lock that in. One thing that I always say too is that, if you've heard of an area rug, it's a rug that covers an area, and that's a real thing because it covers an area of space. We don't have anything called a perimeter rug, right? All right, these are some instructional tasks, and right here I put that they were missing side lengths right there. And I put it in the math missions and taking on the best just in case, because they gave this as a sample, and I was like, it's interesting that we're missing the length and the width, right? And that we're given the area. But if they're going to provide that as a sample, this again is an instructional task. It's taking the learning up a little bit. Whereas this one, we don't have missing side lengths. Well, if you want to think about it like this, there is no measurement down there labeled, but of course we need to make sure that students know that this would also be 9 inches because opposite sides are congruent. And that means the opposite side over here would also be 4 inches. So even though those measurements weren't provided, students still need to understand that they're there. Okay, all right, I think that's good. Let's go ahead and see what you have access to with your membership. So here we are on the website. We're going to click members, enter here. Select taking on the best, and you might need to log in. Okay, which grade? Third grade. Let's scroll down to the GR, Geometric Reasoning Standards. All right, it says, which standard would you like to explore? We're going to click right here on MA.3.gr.2.3, Real World Problems with Perimeter and Area. Cool. Then the first page that it's going to open up to is the bronze resource page, because if you have a bronze, silver, or gold membership, everyone has access to these video lessons. You can see here we have a video lesson, Real World Problems with Perimeter and Area, and then a printable guide right over here. All right, we're going to explore that printable guide in the silver plan because it's also right there, just so I can show you everything. Okay, so with the silver plan, you have extra resources as this page loads. Good gracious. Okay, my internet is lagging just a little bit, so right here will be the Math Misconception Mystery video. We'll get to that in a second. And then you can click here for your printables, so we'll do that. And then you can see here is that video lesson icon. So this was located on that bronze page. And here we have a length of 5 inches, a width of 7 inches, what's the perimeter, what's the area, and same kind of thing, just real world problems. In these real world problems, we will model how to draw these out, how to read it to understand it and get the gist, then how to draw it out, and then understanding what the difference is between the two, between area and perimeter. After students have practiced on their own, the benefit of having that silver plan or the gold plan, you have access to this as well, is that you have extra practice. So your students can take down their notes on the video lessons page and then use those notes to help them on the extra practice page. Okay, got 2 extra practices there for you. This is the math mission, and notice here, just like in the sample where it has those missing side lengths, I've included it right here. So area equals 36 square meters. What would the length be, width, and perimeter? Then you have your math misconception mystery. This is another video. That's the one that wasn't loading. Now it is loaded. You just click right here and I will guide you through the entire process, guide your students through the entire process. This is great to roll out as a whole group lesson. And then once your students start to get the hang of this, you can make it into a small group or an independent activity. But really, as a teacher, I love making these whole group video lessons because they provide wonderful conversations. So here's how it goes. First, your students will solve this problem on their own or in a small group. Then they will watch as 4 different characters solve that same problem. Those characters are me, just me, dressed up in silly costumes with silly accents, having fun. And 3 of the characters are going to make mistakes that students commonly make, and only 1 character solves it correctly. So they really have to listen in closely and see what is the thing, where is the error. It's an error analysis session. It is amazing. It's super, super fun, and lots of aha moments in this. Then once students can discover who the most reasonable answer belongs to, they will fill out this detective report and justify their reasoning, and also evaluate the work of the other 3 in these boxes. There's an answer key, so you know how to guide your students through this, but really these are super fun. They're a big hit in classroom. So I really hope that you have the silver or the gold plan just so you can have fun with these. If you have the gold plan, you have access to even more. So let's click there and I'll show you. All right, so with the gold plan, you of course have access to the bronze and the silver extra practices, but you also have access to even more. So you have a mini assessment, and this mini assessment has a variety of questions. It's about 4 to 5 questions. You can use it as a mini assessment, but your county might provide you with your own assessment. So you could use this as extra practice for a particular standard or a practice test in preparation for a test that's coming up. However you want to use it. There's also an answer key right there. You get these breaking down the best videos right here with the standard and all of the resources ad-free. It's a little perk of being a gold member. These videos are also available on YouTube. You might be watching from there right now, but it's just a little benefit of having the gold plan. But the main reason why, if you are a gold member, you have selected this plan is because of McCarthy Math 155. This is a daily math intervention that's aligned to the Common Core standards. This is what schools used last year in Florida because we had our version of the Common Core standards. Now, I know it says Common Core, And now we're on the best standards, hence the whole program for taking on the best. But there are so many skills that do trickle over that schools were begging me to include this in the gold plan. So the 155, by the way, stands for 155 video lessons for each grade level. So let's click on third grade. And here are the units. We're going to scroll down to Unit 7, which is perimeter and area. You can see right here, 16 video lessons on finding perimeter and area. So if you have students struggling with these two skills, this is a great way to send them daily videos while you're also teaching. That way they get access to more help. It's a safe place for them to try and to make mistakes. And in the videos, it's kind of like a guided release where we'll solve a couple together on the screen, and then I'll ask the students to pause the video and try it on their own, so that way they can come back on and see if they were correct or where they made mistakes. It's a really, really cool way to roll this out. So we've got understanding perimeter. Notice these are not rectangular arrays, but they are composite figures. And in the next standard, 2.4, we do get into composite figures. So you might want to take a look at this one. Here we go with finding the perimeter of rectangles. Day 80 would be great. Day 81 would work. Day 82, finding the perimeter. Finding the missing side length. Remember in the standard it said that that's not the expectation. It's there though if you want to challenge your students maybe. We've got some area videos. Finding area. And if you scroll down a little more, we've got perimeter and area word problems. 1, 2, 3 extra practice videos there. So it really is awesome to have that, as that's the reason why you're a gold member, is because of that. Okay, all right, I think that is it for this standard. So I hope that it was helpful in understanding what the expectation of the standard is, and then what resources you have access to that are strategically aligned to the standard in your Taking on the Best membership. Before we go, let me remind you that what you choose to do with your life every day, it really does matter. Thank you so much for stepping into the best version of yourself on a daily basis so that you can inspire your students to do the same. And I know that you're busy, so you know what? I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Okay, so I know that I just said goodbye for now, but I'm gonna ask you to do one more thing, okay? If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your teacher friends or other leaders in education. That's how I get to continue doing what I love to do, which of course is supporting you all to the best of my ability. All right, for real now. Bye.